Hey there, gardeners. Are you packing it in for the winter soon? I wanted to give you a few tips on taking care of your tools so they'll be ready for next spring when you decide to do it again. So without further ado, let me talk to you about shovels. Any tool with metal is going to need to be treated and in some cases filed. I have my trusty file here. Sometimes when you have your kids do work for you with your tools, they're kind of hard on the tools. This one has had a little bit of wear and tear between my kids and myself. It's got a few problems, and so I'm going to file it and get it into a nice semicircle here. Again, it's kind of flies trying to help me. It's always important to make sure that they're sharp and ready to go. When I was a preteen and a teenager, my parents bought a farm, and I should have asked my dad more, but I kind of watched what he did in taking care of his tools, and he always made sure that he filed his shovel some, but mostly he filed hoes. A hoe is a very good tool, but when it gets dull, it's not worth a lot. So with a file, you have to take and you have to go sideways. Take off all the dirt and debris, whatever's on it, and then file it this way, and it will give you a nice sharp angle so it will work well cutting down weeds in the summer and in the spring when you're doing your garden. So just be careful though. Don't cut yourself. I value all the things that my father taught me regarding gardening and care of tools. I watched and learned, and it was a very valuable part of my childhood. So you keep working on this to get a nice, I don't know how to tell you what the angle should be, but it should be kind of compared to a scissor, how the scissors have it's thick and then it gets thin, and at the bottom you should have a nice sharp edge. This isn't quite where it needs to be, but I'm going to stop and I take sandpaper. If you have sandpaper that you've used on wood and it can't be used on wood, it isn't beneficial anymore, use it on your tools to get all the corrosion and dirt and rust off. And then once you get that done, use the trusty vegetable oil I told you about in the previous video to treat it and prevent it developing rust during the wintertime. We'll just go over it with a good coat. In the spring, you won't have any rust and it'll be ready to go. Do that with all your tools, and that will really help them last longer. And that's another point I wanted to bring up. Don't invest in cheap tools, buy good tools. This is I think I bought this at Ace Hardware, if I remember correctly, and Ace Hardware carries very good brands and tools. Other stores do too, but make sure you get a good quality. True Temper is a very, very good brand. I've always bought True Temper or what's the other brand? I'm trying to remember. They're two top brands that wear well and last you for a long time. And if you take care of them, probably last you for as long as you care to garden. I'll do the same thing to this I did with the hoe, and that is, I'll use the sandpaper on it, get the corrosion and rust off, and dirt. I may have to come back in the spring and do it again, but right now I'm going to treat it with the oil, and that will ensure that it doesn't get more rust during the winter time. I'll still have to work on this a little bit more. It needs some more filing. Our ancestors took very good care of their tools because they couldn't afford to go out and buy tools each year. They took very care of what they had, good care of what they had, so that it would last them for all their lives. And so we should take pointers from them and take good care of our tools, and we will be able to have them around for quite some time. I don't know much about dealing with a rake, but I do know that they need to be cleaned and oiled as well. As far as filing them goes, I don't believe I ever saw my dad file them, but certainly clean them up, put some oil on them so that they'll stay in good shape for as long as possible. I have a funny story I wanted to tell you. When I was a preteen and I was working on my dad's farm, he grew peanuts, and we had to go out in the summer and go down the peanut rows and hoe out all the weeds. And we always fought over this one particular hoe. It was a nice hoe, and I think why we all liked it was because it had been around a while, and it was only about as thick as, it was about half as thick as this hoe is. This is a relatively new hoe, but it was so light and it made it nice to carry and work with. Little did I know that continuous sharpening and filing of it made it smaller and smaller, and after a while it couldn't be used anymore because it was too narrow. So while it seemed like a good idea, it wore out faster. Everybody liked it so much, we all wanted to use it. So it was a really good experience on taking care of your tools. It had to be replaced and have a new one put in its place because it got too thin. It got down to about like this, and then it couldn't be sharpened anymore, and it wasn't really of any use. So take good care of your tools, use them diligently, and clean them up each winter so that they'll last you for a long time. For more hints on gardening and other ideas, please join us on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook, A&L Forever Plants. Love to have you go on there and ask questions and give us ideas that you may have for gardening and raising plants. Thanks. Have a great day.